And tell the truth, loving is only
I feel bad going live and not being able to tell you that. Willie Watson, see there it is, Willie Watson. See, I was right on Willie. I feel good about myself that I was right about Willie. And this is something else. Yeah, I just well, this is another that was a cover, and this is another great cover. And this is John Prine. And the reason for the audio failure is my Bluetooth is not holding a charge. It's a Wonder Boom. And so unfortunately now that's the audio loss. So that's why this is a test. I'm going to try to go for 10 minutes. So this is John Prine. Unfortunately, we lost John due to COVID-19. Unfortunately, John Prine passed away. That was awful loss to the musical world, to the world at large, not just the musical world, but the world. And this is a live version. He's doing a Blaze Foley song called Clay Pigeons. It's a cover of Blaze Foley, Blaze Foley, 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 like Foley artist. He died Unfortunately, he was shot trying to help his buddy over a welfare check. He was shot and killed over a welfare check. Place Foley was, and John Prine bringing one of his songs back to us on, I believe it was the Fair and Square LP, and this is called Clay Pigeons. And I'm interrupting John. You listen to him fucking talk, but it is Clay Pigeons as covered by John Prine live. It's called Clay Pigeons. It's a Blaze Foley song. So can you hear it? I hope. I'll know in 5 minutes. Hey, brother, I was just calling you because I was actually on the phone most of the day, and I do not have that waiting. I was just glad to know that you kind of refused to the cat count, so it's fine. But I figured I was on the phone with a two-phone conversation with a musical partner. I will need the guitar as soon as possible because I need to work on some guitar things for him and send him this way. Not immediately, but by next Wednesday, I do it. I can do the guitar, but nothing sounds like a guitar like a guitar. But the guitar, sounds like a guitar, but I do different producers the guitar tracks. But anyway, good conversation. He's one of my best brothers in the world. And I'm sorry that this is really called up. Enjoy your day. I will hopefully talk about something in this way. Well, no pressure. If you can, say stuff right, you're welcome. But, when they talk about it, enjoy your day. Give me your lovely makeup, lovely son, my best. And I will, take some good time sometime. I'll keep the phone like that. But, I mean, one of the three over this. So that was, not the complete version. There's still about a minute and 43 seconds left to that particular track. But I had the audio failure because, again, why would I have everything set up ideally the way I needed it to? I'm working with a half broken laptop at this juncture. The keyboard is largely non-functional, and I'm sure if I can get it down to the place I bought it from, they would honor it under that I bought it. They built it, and I'm sure they honor some sort of warranty. But I don't feel like walking that far, and that's why I have a Bluetooth keyboard, which makes this, the computer still highly functional, and the fact that not all the keyboards dead. So some of the functionality, like volume up and down, is a bit easier controlled with the function key and on here, but it's just instinct of going to this keyboard, even though it's not much of an instinct. It's the Bluetooth keyboard is a new paradigm for me. So, and then of course doing any of this is a paradigm. I'm trying to learn as I go. I find myself to be a much okay. That cancels audio, so then that little means audio live, and this is a I don't know what forward. I guess that I don't know what that button does, and I'm not really going to test it. What happens if I do this? Oh, I can embed directly. It says to Facebook. Look at that. Does that work? I don't know. It doesn't appear to be. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. It does embed. See, I found out a new thing. See, and then I guess I hit. Yeah, there we go. So there we go. There, I figured out something interesting, and then I could also post to Twitter. I don't know what that symbol is. Blogger, Reddit. I know Twitter. What is the big T? Tumblr. Okay, yeah. Pinterest. Don't know what the fuck that symbol is. vcontacti.ru. I don't know what the fuck that is. I assume the IN is. Oh no, it's LinkedIn. Fuck, I don't want to share this to LinkedIn. I didn't know in. Then there's mix.com. I don't know what that is. I can embed it into connectok.ru. I don't know what that is. And it looks like I can mail to. So those are some pretty interesting things. And then it looks like I can even make a note and include a start time. So that's pretty cool. And then I guess I click that button. Okay, so that's something I'm learning as I go. I don't see any other way to do this. And then I don't know what these two people up here near live, and it says one. So I don't know if that means one viewer right now currently. No thumbs up. And I know there's probably a way to that I saw earlier how to post metrics. I can send feedback. That's cool. Good to know. And this must be a scheduling. This is live, and I think this must be a live icon. And I'm sure there's a way to view active metrics like I was talking about, enjoying that aspect about Facebook. Let's see, live chat, participants, pop out chat. Okay, toggle timestamp. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So, like by participants, I can see that I'm the only one, but there could be other participants in the future that would allow me then. And then, of course, the U up top, that is Urban Spaceman, and that is my channel, YouTube, Switch account. I don't know what Switch is. I'll figure that out later. What is that Switch account? Oh, switch account. It's not like switch isn't something. It's like switch account. So I could have more than one account set up here. That's groovy green because I do have more than one YouTube account. I don't even know which email this one's registered to, but I would say in general, as one email is as good as any other, and I have access to every single email that I have ever had because I never had an AOL, but I do have a Yahoo. That was my first email. And then I literally ran with Yahoo until Gmail. So, and then I have had five different Gmail addresses, and I have access to all of them, if need be. I hope, assuming some don't require a secondary authentication backup through a cell phone, because I'd be up Schitt's Creek with turd for a paddle at that point, because I don't have access to my cell phone with my old SIM card. And I was really grateful to have had that number for so long because, it was a number I knew I could give to people just right off the top of my head because I'd had it so long. And for the longest time, it was actually my wife's phone number. So I knew that number by heart because we had one cell phone betwixt us because I had a corporate cell phone and so on. I did not need a separate cell phone. Eliminate cost, take advantages of things, so forth and so on. So this is a test. Testing multiple things at once. Lighting, yeah, it fucking sucks. But until, I set up this space better. But unfortunately, in setting up this space, as I'd kind of like this to be the main room I broadcast from in, and right now I'm trying to hobble together a way to do this. Right now I'm using the laptop's built-in camera, which of course is the problem with the video quality. But Thankfully, I do have a solution. I have a GoPro Hero 7, so fully functional, works wonderful, in perfect shape. This is the, of course, the head harness. So you just, well, look there, wear it on your head. And then, I mean, clearly I have a chest harness, I have a monopod, or you could call it a selfie stick if you wanted to, but it's really a monopod. That's what I call it. And as that is submersible, I have a floating monopod as well. I have a zip wire. I could hang that thing and run it using zip wires if I wanted to do a crazy like tracking shot in this room. I mean, clearly it's more for adventurous things than that, but I mean, could use it, set one anchor there on the east wall and one anchor there on the west wall and do a weird zoom across. It maybe be an interesting shot to think of. And given that, I had uh, when I went to college, I studied three things for my undergraduate degree. Didn't finish my graduate degree because I really gave up on the educations of higher learning. Um, Life got in the way, then personal reasons. But anyway, I did get an undergraduate degree, and of course, decided to do three things: film, communication theory, and psychology. And I did them to the best degree, kind of amalgamated my own concept there, what I wanted to learn. So, I have a Bachelor of Science um, in communication psychology, and with a film certificate. That was the best I could do because that's all Old Dominion offered when I graduated in 2000, 20 damn years ago. And I think I graduated in the spring. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, spoke at my graduation, but I did not attend my graduation, much to my mother's chagrin, because we grew up watching Mr. Rogers together, and I think she took it as some sort of personal insult that she didn't get to go to my graduation and see Fred Rogers spoke. I mean, I had tickets. She could have gone, but I think when I decided not to walk and receive my diploma, um, she decided I just didn't feel like I felt like it was bullshit, pomp and circumstance. I'd done the work. I was, my real diploma wasn't going to be ready. That's not what they were going to hand me. They were going to hand me like a fake diploma, like it was real, but it was like a symbolic diploma. So I just didn't walk. And also I was a teacher's assistant, and I was dealing with an honor code violation kind of thing at the time. And with all that going on, that was more important to me as a priority than doing some bullshit, stupid walk, because I managed to jump through the hoops that Old Dominion University put forth to graduate from their institution. And nothing against them. Old Dominion is a great university. I loved it dearly. Had wonderful communication and psychology and film program. I mean, seriously, I don't know if any of the teachers that I knew, but Gary Edgerton was an amazing professor. Fran Hasenkow, Tom Soha, um, and I'm not trying to be, Conrad Winters. These are some just wonderful human beings and wonderful professors. Jim Baszler. I mean, and I'm not trying to. If I omit you, it's not because it's just I didn't have, but really, two professors that I didn't love, three that I didn't love, and for different reasons. But I still respected them. I graduated summa cum laude. I'm not trying to brag. It's just what I graduated as. And the only reason was because during my entire 4 years, every single credit hour, I only received one B, and I felt that was an unjust B plus, and that dragged my grade point average down to 3.95, and I was horribly devastated by that 0.05 at the time in 2000. So I was an angry young man. Sometimes, even now, I might occasionally have trouble with my anger. It could be considered maybe an angry old man, I guess, as opposed to I'm old, that's for sure. But I don't feel as old as I think 42 is. like, I think 42. I mean, wow. I mean, I could have 40, maybe 50 good years left, maybe even more, depending on advances in longevity due to medical science, and obviously assuming during the permanent apocalypse I don't get COVID-19 and just suddenly keel over dead. And if I felt more adventurous, I would totally, like, seize up and do a fall backwards and end the live stream right then and there at the 20-minute mark. That'd be kind of a fun, bad taste way to end this. But as this is just a test, and uh, you know, and I should read community guidelines next. I see this over here. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Okay. And abide by our community guidelines. So I understand what this means now. Yes. So, yeah, I get that now. And I'm going to read the community guidelines so I don't make some horrible mistake in relation to that, because I wouldn't want to do that. So I do need to study this more. So probably part of me wanting to just kind of throw myself to the wolves, as it were, and learn that way, because it's how I've always learned best, through immersion. I was just talking to a soror of mine, literally, and one of the things we were discussing was language acquisition. And one of the things, you know, I'm in the United States. I don't think that's any mystery, and I don't think that's giving too much of my privacy away. I have different names. So Urban Spaceman, it's a great fucking song by Neil Innes, Innes. Kind of the really the musical, one of the musical um, geniuses of our time. A Monty Python member to a large degree, part of that collective. Um, Bonzo Dog Doo-Dah Band would be the main band that Neil Innes and other individuals were in Bonzo Dog Doo-Dah Band. But I'm just using Neil Innes as I'm talking about Neil Innes right now. I'm not. I need to trying my best to not go off on too many tangents and then go and discuss every single fucking member of the Bonzo Dog Doo-Dah Band, because I realize right now that, given I have been listening to Bonzo Dog Doo-Dah Band for 42 years, therefore they may not be as I'm more familiar with them than most humans might be. So when I say, like, for example, when Neil Innes died at the end of 2019, I remember being horribly fucking sad that day. And somebody, asked me, how are you doing? I said, well, Neil Innes died. And they looked at me like, oh, I'm sorry. Was that somebody you knew? I was like, no, I mean, well, not really, but yes, to a degree. I did know him through his music. Unfortunately, no, I never did have the ability to sit down and meet him. No, I will say, having met, I mean, there's kind of a, I guess, cult of personality to a degree. It's a term I've heard once. I think that's a Living Color song, "Cult of Personality," if I'm not mistaken. But there's this kind of concept in our culture, popular culture in the United States. Famous individuals, singers, songwriters, kind of become idols that we almost worship to a degree. And that's just pop culture in its nature. I mean, look at how much fucking bullshit John Lennon brought down on his head when, I believe, he said something like the Beatles are bigger than Jesus. And I think when he made that statement, it was probably a factual fucking statement. I think if Jesus had come back, if and the Beatles, during the Beatles' reign, I think the Beatles would have totally, if they were at competing venues, I think the Beatles would have sold out, and Jesus would have had tickets available day of show. I'm just saying, and I think that's all John was trying to say. But goddamn, he took that on the chin, and I don't think he meant it as some sort of horrible thing. I think I mean, Woody Guthrie wrote a wonderful song called I believe it was like Jesus for President. Don't quote me. Maybe I'm remembering the song titles quasi incorrectly, but it's really this great Woody Guthrie song. Woody Guthrie, famous folk singer songwriter. His guitar said, "This machine kills fascists." So certainly wonderful singer songwriter. Definitely a working man's man. Certainly proletariat, not bourgeois. And so he wrote a wonderful song called "Jesus for President," and what in this song he discusses if Jesus from the Judeo-Christian, I guess we'd say, but really Christian um, uh, faith system. If Jesus was taken out of the Bible and ran for president, he'd lose. And Woody Guthrie wrote that himself. And I'm not sure of the year Woody Guthrie wrote that song. I apologize. But it was true when Woody Guthrie wrote it in the 30s or 40s. I mean, whenever he died, unfortunately, far too young. But a lot of great singer songwriters do. Blaze Foley would be a wonderful example of a singer songwriter out of Austin, Texas. Clay Pigeons would be a song I would listen to by Blaze Foley. John Prine, who unfortunately we lost collectively due to COVID-19. John Prine unfortunately contracted COVID-19, and due to the fact John Prine was, I think, pushing 80, if I'm accurate there, he died due to COVID-19 complications. And I remember being horribly heartbroken that day when John Prine died, because I thought, my God, there is a genius, singer, songwriter, a living legend. Every time I was able to see him live was just an amazing experience. And then I felt bad because I was able to share that experience with a lot of loved ones, given the number of times I saw John Prine live. But that's an experience that me and my child will never get to experience, and that kind of was sad, and it was sad that I'll never get to see it again. But in all honesty, I mean, I think 78, 79, somewhere in that range. I mean, he had a good run. I mean, I think his last LP, Tree of Forgiveness. I mean, if you have, assuming there's not some like posthumous album LP put together and released. Nothing against those, but I mean, as far as the last album released while he was living, God damn, what a note to go out on. Tree of Forgiveness is an amazing LP, and I would listen to the eponymous or title track of that, Tree of Forgiveness. I would listen to that song, and say, damn, there is an amazing song about death, about dying, and to be the final track on your final LP released while you're living. Goddamn. And just a great album. So many wonderful songs on that. And to see when he toured for that album, with that album, before it was released and after it was released, I got to see him 3 times on that tour when he was actively doing songs of Tree of Forgiveness. And it was amazing. The one time, Dan Auerbach, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Black Keys, one of the Black Keys, singer-songwriter, and other bands too, but primarily known. His solo album's great. Everything he does is I think wonderful as a producer. He produced Dr. John, maybe not Dr. John's final LP, but one of Dr. John's final LPs, and it was just an amazing moment there. And then John Prine. To get to see him with Dan Auerbach opening up, and then of course getting to see him and Dan perform together in Richmond at some center, Maudlin Center for the Performing Arts in Richmond, Virginia, was where I saw that tour. And then saw him. I think it was Norfolk, somewhere in Norfolk. I can't remember. And then a third location during that tour, pre-release and post-release of Tree of Forgiveness, and it was wonderful to see John Prine and with different opening acts, of course, which he usually has the opening act perform a couple songs with him, and so it was interesting to see that interplay as it changed. And because unfortunately, the one thing about live music is sometimes you get a really like groovy green opening band, and and other times you're slogging through something you maybe don't love, but out of respect, I'm not one of I always show up at the very beginning, usually before 30 to 45 minutes, will call window, depending on how I have my tickets, so I can get a good position. I'm one of those people. I like to, I think it probably comes from the old punk rock days where I always wanted to be up front at center in the mosh. Um, but even for like a folk song now, I'll go. The last the last metal show that I went to was I don't remember the band names. I'd have to consult with the freighter that I attended that show with, and I remember only that it was early GPS days. We were using a cell phone. We were driving most of the way. Like we met at a location in Southern Virginia, and we were driving the entire length of the state from the south. We went all the way to the north, like we were DC area, Northern Virginia, which is a nightmare. Nova, as they say, Nova, Northern Virginia. It's the only time you never hear people say I'm going to VA or but you do hear people refer to Nova. Uh, you know, if they say the abbreviation NOVA for Northern Virginia, which is like Arlington and Alexandria and Falls Church, just a giant. A lot of I think Manassas would be considered part of Nova, and RVA. You'll hear people abbreviate Richmond, Virginia, which is a pretty groovy city. In all honesty, you know, uh, I currently live in Virginia. I hope that's I don't mind giving that away. It's a temporary location here. I thought it was going to be permanent, but hey, that's how life works. You think something's going to be permanent, and then wow, it turns out to not be permanent. Um, it's a good study in temporality, I suppose. Um, but anyway, now that whole thing, trying to be more mindful. I think of anonymity. So Urban Spaceman, and I'm sure I'll have to probably kill this channel. This is just a test and create a new channel, but thankfully that's pretty easy. And then I'm sure there's a way to clear old channels. If not, hey, I mean, but we're living in a day where I remember Stephen King, for instance, one a great author. I think the Stand remake is happening or is currently happening. Maybe it's live streaming somewhere. It's something I was kind of interested in. I heard Marilyn Manson was going to was going to be in that. He was cast in that, or was early talks of casting. And that's the last time I read anything about the the reimagining. I guess we'd call it a remake of a limited series. It was originally done sometime in the 90s. I remember I was in high school in Maryland, and because I remember my mother falling in love with that show, that miniseries, that limited engagement series, as I think they're called now, miniseries, as they were called when I was growing up. Stephen King's It with Tim Curry was a miniseries event. And now I think it's, really in our world now, they're called limited series engagements or something like that. Terms change, but the concepts don't. I mean, look at uh, this digital revolution and how it's impacted viewingship. Um, it used to be TGIF was a lineup on Friday night of Full House, and then Family Matters, and that was a solid hour of ad revenue for whatever major network had Full House and Family Matters, and I believe that was the TGIF lineup. And then Thursday nights for the longest time, Cheers, the long-running sitcom, uh, became you call them anchor shows because man, you got so many people tuning in at like 8 o'clock to watch Cheers because it was such a popular show, filmed in front of a live studio audience, and that concept became like people showed up to watch Cheers. There was an ability to record once the VCR was launched, but my grandmother, God rest her soul, I hope certainly, uh, is I can't judge her. I know a lot about her, and I think if her soul was being weighed against a feather, well, uh, my grandmother, I don't know. That's not my call. You know, I think she was the best human being she could be at the time, most of the time, except for when she wasn't, and then she was sometimes just an awful human being. But I don't think she ever meant to be as awful as she was. I think if you ever wanted to read about my grandmother, I would read Flannery O'Connor's short story, "A Good Man Is Hard to Find," and the grandmother in that short story is pretty much my grandmother. And so there's an illusion for you. I love Flannery O'Connor. Um, she was a devout Roman Catholic living in the deep South, which was a challenge um, because the deep South is not huge on Roman Catholicism. I'm in Virginia, and I'm in Southern Virginia. I don't mind, um, letting that be known. I mean, I'm sure, I have one phone, and I'd like to possibly experiment with like a call in. So right now, if I were to put my number out, which I did in a chat on here earlier, I have a landline still. So I'm sure if I give that out, somehow you can backtrace that. I mean, and find out, something about me. Sure. 804, for example, that's the area code to the landline. So therefore, you would geographically know because of that. And because I've said it's a landline. Now therefore, you know that I'm in the 804 area code of Virginia. And oh my God, oh my goddess, oh Buddha, Allah, Ganesh, Jesus. Now you know I'm in a certain area of Southern Virginia in the 804, not the 757. But then again, of course, I couldn't play off that my corded phone is a cellular phone, but of course, cellular phones are like that. So because there's a lot of times I might call a brother who originated in, let's say, Maryland. So likely he's going to be 410. And so by that, I know that's Maryland. So if I see a 410, I'm like, oh, that's a Maryland number. I'll probably pick that up. But right now I have a fucking landline. That's the only phone line I have. So it's wild. I don't have caller ID. It's really weird to go back to a point. The phone rings and I have to pick it up and I have to go hello. And I almost because I don't know who it is now. Um, I almost want to come up with a greeting, like just something I can say, like a script for my landline. Um, and I think that's been an idea I've had recently, and I think that's great. Rather than say hello, maybe come up with a recurring joke every time. Not that my fucking phone rings all that much. I mean, maybe it would ring out more. I don't care. I would provide. Maybe somebody needs to talk. So it's 804 805 2134. That's the landline to the temple here. And I refer to it as a temple because currently it is. It's I myself am a holy temple, and I live inside this flesh prison. This fresh, this flesh. I was going to say fresh prison, but no, this is a flesh prison. This flesh prison, whatever, lives inside this body, this biological body. It's one. Then there's an outer. See, that's the microcosm. Then the macrocosm would be the next one out would be this room and this house, temple, lodge. I can call it whatever the fuck I want. And so I've come to calling it temple. Like, I refer to my biological flesh prison as a temple. Handy dandy way to remind me of my own inherent sacredness, sanctity, and worth. Because if you don't have a clear and concise concept of your own worth, and I'm not saying be grandiose, be conceited, or be prideful, but I'm just saying there is nothing wrong with acknowledging talents that you have, and I was talking to a freighter today, and one of those freighter is Latin for brother. So a freighter, or soror, and that's obviously used for people who identify as male or identify as female. If you know, um, uh, I only right now have contact with one non-binary gender identity human being on a level where I need that to be a concern. I have not discussed with them what terminology they would like to be applied if I would refer to them in a freighter or soror, and really freighter, brother, soror, sister, fraternity, sorority, Latin, Freemason, freighter, fraternity, sorority, soror, Eastern Star, concept, Freemasonry, but also in the magic community, freighter would be brother, and then of course your magic name, freighter Cordoba would, for example, be one of Aleister Crowley's names. Master Therion would be his others. He had 3 names. I guess you would say his Christian name, it was Aleister Crowley, and then of course he had 2 other names, Freighter Cordoba, and I could be butchering that horribly pronunciation. I've never heard it spoken. I'm sorry. I read more than I listen. I like to read more books than I like to listen to books. But then I love music, but I also love poetry. And see what I'm saying. But anyway, and just as a note, try not to be an asshole. In general, that's good advice, right? And one way I think a lot of people are assholes, and I think they mean well, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, they say. Who the fuck are they? Nobody knows, but they sure as hell fucking say a lot of shit. Like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's what they say. I'm not going to research that. I could in a minute. It wouldn't take long. And, I see that I have a Facebook update message thing over there. But right now, I know that, that's not, it's not one of those forms of media where it's not like a text message where, I like to try to be within, if I'm active and with a cell phone, not let text messages go too long without being answered, just to me. I mean, everybody's got a different etiquette they follow. But for me, if I have a cell phone in my hand or within my range, easy to reach, I would, here or with arm's length, I like to try to be pretty punctual in regards to answering a text. Because why the fuck not? I mean, it's common courtesy. I think, but I don't get all bent out of shape if I text somebody and it takes them a month to return my text. I don't care about that because, time is something that it's just a measurement. It's a construct. Like today. Well, when does today start? For each one of us, today started when we woke up. And there might be some of us who, due to the schedule of our lives, at 6 minutes till 8 post meridian East Coast Standard Time, have yet to wake up. Maybe, for whatever reason, that person went to bed sometime yesterday. Maybe they went to bed at 11:45, and maybe, for whatever reason, they are catching like a major super sleep cycle, catching up on lost sleep, whatever, and maybe they're getting ready to wake up in 5 minutes, and so their today hasn't even started yet. And then as time exists, if you go, here where I am on the East Coast in Virginia. Oh my God, did I give too much away? Probably, and that's you know now I think, oh, is this wise recording from, you have to think about, oh, am I, did I come up with a set? See, that's how my mind works. And that's why I like to test things out. It helps me think better. And it also lets me see how long I can go on a very rough outline that I wrote in my magic. So, and how often do I need to refer to that guideline? I have written it without having committed said guideline to memory. Feel like transferring that to long-term memory. So I roughly planted it into my, I think like a medium memory. I don't know, I'm not using the technical language, short-term memory and long-term memory, but I think there's this transitional memory. I don't know what the proper lexicon is, and let's face it, lexicon, dictionary, words, they change. Words become dead. Certain words, once a word has not been used in any, I guess, publication, it dies. And one time in my life, I was wanting to be a poet. This was, I guess, and I still am. I still consider myself a poet. Haven't shared a lot. I mean, I could, I guess, do a poetry reading on here. Why not? But I'm trying to come up with a YouTube live because I don't know. People, human beings that I encounter, um, often say, "Oh, you should do voiceover work. Your voice." Like literally, I hear that a lot. Like, "Oh, your voice." Like literally, I was giving this young lady I had met at a bar a tarot card reading on a bench outside the bar past closing time. I don't know. This was probably, I don't know, 4 rough months ago. And literally, I knew they were filming me because there was like off and on. There was like I was blinded by the light on her camera phone, and so I didn't think she was trying to see me better because that particular night, I was pretty visible. I remember when I walked into that particular bar, that particular evening, dressed the way I was, the two musical performers in that bar stopped performing whatever song they were performing, which might have been an original, it might have been a cover, but they it seemed to me that they stopped in medias res. But maybe they were just at a song change and they said, "Hey, welcome everybody, Jack Sparrow's in the house." And that kind of, on one level, I hadn't gone out and engaged humanity in a bar setting in a while. And I think those two musicians that were up there in this little podunk bar in this little podunk Southern Virginia town, I think they meant well. I don't think they meant to be rude. I don't think they meant to be denigrating. But I didn't. I didn't appreciate, I didn't appreciate the Johnny Depp reference in relation to myself. Yes, was I wearing a top hat that was festooned with black feathers? Uh-huh. Did it have pins all over it like a Mad Hatter? Yes. Was I wearing an odd robe? yes, I was wearing Tai Chi pants, which I'm often wearing. Right now, it's just black sweatpants because it's laundry day and all my Tai Chi pants are dirty. And I own 3 pairs of Tai Chi pants. 2 pairs are red, one pair dual tone brown and like beige, um, and Thai fisherman pants. Uh, Often they tie them on in one pocket. I love them, but I digress. I don't want to talk about clothing because sometimes I'll wear a skirt, and I think that, and sometimes I'll wear a kilt. And kind of a joke is somebody will see me one day wearing a skirt, and then maybe a few days later, they might make a joke that day about what I'm wearing. And it's a joke in good nature. A freighter might joke. And like, in fact, one of my freighters goes, "Who knows with you what the fuck you're going to be wearing? You could be wearing a dress and show up here. You're welcome. You could be wearing, I don't know, what, a goddamn kilt, and you're welcome here." And then I know one day I showed up at a freighter's house uh, in jeans, and I like literally his fucking jaw, it was like fucking hanging because he did not know what to make of me wearing jeans. Because in our existence, this particular freighter had never seen me. And I, in fact, I thought this freighter, a recent human being who I think is a wonderful human being here in this small dead end town that I live in. A neighbor of mine, in fact, and I think that he, his wife, and his son are an amazing family, and I think they give me hope as far as like humanity goes. This particular family, and there's actually 3 families in my neighborhood that really give 4 probably. They give me hope, uh, and I love that I have that many families to look at and say there's a family that gives me hope. I don't consider my own family one of those families that I look at, and that family gives me no hope. Are there still a few family members from that blood tribe that give me hope? Yes, there are, but there are more non-blood family members that give me more hope than blood family members. So, you know, I guess then we would make, they say blood is thicker than water. And technically that's a true statement, but I would say the majority of my blood is weaker than water. And I saw it on Facebook. I guess a meme. Yeah, yeah. I guess that's the generic term we're using now. And maybe I'm using it wrong. It's a newer meme thing, and I really don't feel like talking about that right now. And I will break that down and back to its origin and talk about what a meme is, and then I digress too much. And I love this 53 minutes and 44 seconds. I'm trying to hit an hour for some, I don't know, unknown reason. Why not? It's nigh 8 o'clock post meridian, East Coast Standard Time. 7 more minutes? No, 6 more minutes now. And so then at 8, whatever, sometime it'll have been an hour. So this test becomes, I can test hour broadcast length on a, I sure hope it's Wednesday because I really feel like a hump day. And if it's not hump day, even though I don't have a traditional week anymore where hump day matters, because they say, oh, hump day, it's the middle of the week. If you can get through that, the rest of the week just slides on by. Well, that hump day, sure. If you work a traditional work week Monday through Friday and have the weekend off, but what the fuck is a traditional work week in this permanent apocalypse? What does that look like? Does yes, traditionally with day, first day of week being Sunday, then yes, the hump day still it is, I guess, a functional thing of a 7-day week. Wednesday is middle week, and once you pass the middle, you are closer to the end. So, thank God it's Friday. TGIF, an acronym that, when that was a TGIF, I was mentioning television, how that medium, digital streaming, changed that. Because, people no longer are beholden to this show coming on at this time. And when the original Stand miniseries aired, if you wanted to see it sequentially, you had to have your ass in a seat staring at a fucking TV at like 8 o'clock prime time. And there are still prime time shows. I'm not saying that aspect of television has totally gone away, but digital streaming, DVRs, this evolution of the medium has very much impacted, of course, the way we are able to view it. So it used to be, I remember my grandmother was, like I said, God rest her soul, was one of the first humans to have a fucking VCR. It was giant programming. It was like spinning wheels, but she did her fucking level best to record every goddamn thing under the sun. And she got great at like pausing out commercials. Like she would like actively record something and she would like, with her remote control pause. But then, of course, it was funny because she would be watching the commercials. And then, of course, so when you watched one of her tape shows, whether it was, I don't know what, she taped all kinds of shit off public television because she was a big band singer. And so and she loved opera and she sang in her church choir. So she would record a lot of shit off PBS. Like Deflator Mouse and Upstairs Downstairs, Masterpiece Theater and shit like that. But then she'd also, on UHF, she would record like Sledgehammer was a show I absolutely adored growing up. Wonderful police procedural comedy, and it was great. Recommended if you've never seen Sledgehammer. I used to watch it growing up where I did. In Maryland, in northeastern Maryland, I grew up. And it was like I think channel 57 was the channel it was on the UHF dial, and that was when there was two dials, like your local channels for one dial, and then your UHF this dial, and that's how I remember TV, because it was rabbit ears, and that was how it existed, and wow, I would almost like to have one of those, go back to that simpler time. You know, uh, I know Bruce Springsteen once had a song called 57 Channels and Nothing On. And it was a wonderful song, because 57 channels, that was a lot of fucking channels. I mean, but now, um, how many channels are there? I mean, damn, I know back when I had a cable box thing with cable, and I turned the guide on, and I filtered channels that don't cost me anything, basically, whatever that was, free to me filter. I didn't count, but I know that stars, like channel, like I don't know, 1,000, and I don't know if it started at one. I didn't fucking individually count, and it never provided me, hey, you have this many channels. But I often would say, wow, this I feel like the Bruce Springsteen song, but multiplied exponentially, it's 57,000 channels, and I feel like nothing's on. But anyway, I digress. So my grandmother did her best to to escape from that sitting, but she still, at that point, you could program with spinning wheels her VCR to record while you were not there, and that was like amazing. But now, I mean, it's you have a TV remote control thing, and you hit record if you have a digital video recorder service, or cloud, or however it's done now, and you hit a button, and you want to record something, it allows you to record it. And then one of the advantages that you have, if you record, let's say, I don't know, some new show people like, The Masked Singer. I see a lot of commercials for that. And so they can record that on their DVR, and then they can just fast forward through the commercials, and that's what happens. Or you can stream it, and usually if you're streaming it for free via, I guess, whatever network that Masked Singer, and that might not, when the Masked Singer sings, I don't know what the title is. I saw the commercial the other day. It was like 2 shows back to back, hosted by this comedian of Asian descent. I don't know his name. I'm sorry, but he seemed to be popular. Like they were using him and of some Eastern country he looked to be from. He might be American. I'm not trying to speak ill. I'm just trying to say he looked as if he was from Eastern descent. Familiar wise, he looked Asian to me, and from some Asian country. I'm not that good at looking at one person from the East and saying, well, they look Vietnamese, they look Korean. I'm just not that good, and but some people are, I guess, potentially that good. I'm not. I'm just saying, I think his name might be Ken. I don't know anything beyond that. And it seemed like he hosted 2 shows back to back now, and that they seem to be putting emphasis on that. And one was like a masked singer. Maybe they titled it simply, maybe The Masked Singer, the singers wear masks. That was the concept behind the show, and the title was very much, keep it simple, stupid, The Masked Singer, let's say. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I am. God knows I don't fucking watch it. And then there was a second show that he was also hosting, and they seem to be focusing on that. Look, he's a host, and you get 2 hours of, and I think his name's Ken, and I suppose that he has some celebrity status beyond these 2 shows, or maybe his celebrity status, maybe he was in The Hangover. Maybe that's accurate. I don't fucking know. I don't really fucking care. I'm free to care. I just don't. I'm just trying to converse here. And so anyway, that show, I guess, let's say, whatever network that show's on, I have the ability. I'm sure if I wanted to watch these 2 shows, I don't have any desire. I mean, I like singing, I like singer-songwriters. I myself am a singer-songwriter. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting concept, the mask and the singing. I mean, I actually thought that was kind of cool. And it had statistics that popped up on there, like 20 Grammy winners, 1 Olympic gold medalist, and I don't know, a paraplegic ex-diver, and 6 R&B artists, 4 country artists appear this season on The Singers That Wear Masks. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Because then it's kind of like, oh, so, that made me think, I don't know, maybe I'll wear a mask from now on. Like maybe that's how I protect my anonymity. But then that'd be really uncomfortable all the time. And I only have like 3 masks right now. So I mean, so, but so then I guess, do I come up with an outfit? And do I go that far? I mean, with this? I don't know. Yeah, this has just been a test. Yeah, it's been a 64-minute and 15-second long test, but it's my test. I'm free to run it as long as the fuck I want. I don't feel like hitting end stream primarily because that would require me right now moving 4 feet. And I don't feel like moving 4 feet. So, because, this is my living room. the room which I do most of my waking, I spend most of my waking hours in. One of the things that even though this is a temporary lodging, I do like to have a living room. And if you've been in my living room, you over the course of the years that I've existed at the location, uh, probably that tapestry behind me, which was a gift from a very dear freighter of mine, which was a gift from his soror to him. He gave it to me, so it always hangs in place of honor in my temple. That right there, on my west facing living room wall. Behind that wall is stairs that go directly up, as most stairs do. I mean, not directly, that would be like a 45-degree angle, running pretty much like right along that angle that cuts Samhain and Beltane. That's the wheel. That's the Wiccan wheel of the year. And I love. And then I got two bookshelf altars that have seen better days because, well, they've been recreated because they were demolished uh, during a period where I was incarcerated and my temple was vacant for over 100 days, and a break-in happened. Well, any property that is known to be vacant doesn't have the proper signs or neighborhood watch program in effect. And hey, I don't blame my neighborhood for this. I wouldn't want, even though you don't know where my neighborhood is, I actually do, sadly, love the little neighborhood that I live in. I like it. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Fred Rogers. He taught me a lot of things. Growing up, I grew up with Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I loved the land of make. I always thought Mr. McFeely was probably the weirdest fucking goddamn name for a mailman, Mr. McFeely. I mean, I hate to say, and Mr. McFeely as an image, it's unfortunate. It is a wonderful, innocent mailman image, but then again, let's think in I don't know, colloquial pop culture, going postal now is colloquially something to say for when somebody goes bug fuck or batshit. They went postal. So Mr. McFeely, the neighborhood mailman, and I love my mailman. He is a great fucking mailman. And actually, I will probably sit outside on my front porch, which is easy to do because there's a giant yellow leather lazy boy recliner donated here to the temple, and I haven't felt like taking it apart and bringing it inside. Primarily donated to me during a period of personal upheaval, which has been really the last 2 years of my life. Have been like starting over again, over again. My friends, my life is starting over again. And while we're just doing the test, Daniel Johnston, another amazing singer songwriter out of Austin, Texas. Um, I was blessed, have been able to see him twice in my life. Both times were on his farewell tour, and that would unfortunately be his true farewell tour because he died within a year of that tour. I believe it was 1 year of leading that tour. Uh, and I saw Daniel Johnston both in Philadelphia and in New York City, and both shows were, and all the shows on that farewell date. Daniel Johnston was never mentally well and wanted to watch a documentary about Daniel Johnston. Watch The Devil, Daniel Johnston. Wonderful portrait of an artist, wonderful portrait of someone trying to live out their life while dealing in the best manner they can with uh, while being mentally unwell. I don't even like the term mentally ill. Mentally unwell. Maybe that is a better term. Mentally ill, a sickness, and unwell. I think makes it sound better. And I don't think just because it sounds better. Words unfortunately have meaning. Often, um, you know, you label somebody mentally. You're mentally ill. See, then ill, sick, and I'm not saying words have power. So I think mentally unwell. Words we end up, you know, controlling us to a large degree. So Daniel Johnson was a beautiful soul. I'm a Thelemite. I don't know if I mentioned that during this test, but uh, that means I follow the law of Thelema, which means that I follow the teachings of Aleister Crowley. I read the book of the law for Alveligus, Latin, book of the law. And it's a three-chapter book uh, communicated to Aleister and his wife in 1904 and on April 8th, 9th, and 10th. And, it's a book I really like. It's a holy book to me that reference it, identify as a Thelemite. But then um, I also identify as a Buddhist. I feel that's an accurate term. I apply that to myself as well. But then I also actively feel like, I'm a Wiccan. I ultimately feel like I'm a Hindu. Um, I don't identify as Christian. That's just a personal thing. I've had a lot of personal issues with Christianity. That's my journey. I don't wish to identify as Christian. I don't have any problem with Christian. Just not something I want to, not a term I want to drop on myself. Great if you want to. We're not going to have any problems if you're a Christian. That's great. Awesome. I don't fucking care. I'm free to care. I just don't. That's great. Does that work for you? Wonderful. It doesn't work for me. But I'm glad it works for you. Actually, I'd like for you, even though you're a Christian out there, maybe watching or watching something else. And there's that old statement. Oh, don't talk about politics or religion. God, why not? Why the fuck not? I mean, I really want to know. Do we agree on politics? Because unfortunately, you know, if you say I love Donald Trump, that's a big fucking heavy block you're holding, and that has unfortunately a lot of as a denotation, and it has a lot of connotation, and some of those connotations could be like I'm xenophobic. Some Trump supporters are. Um, you could be identifying as a racist because some Trump supporters are. You could be identifying as homophobic because some Trump supporters are. You could be identifying as transphobic because some Trump supporters are. Um, I'm not saying all Trump supporters. No, I'm not making that generalized statement. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying if you say, "Oh, I'm for Biden," that you can't, that you could be transphobic and for Biden, and homophobic and for Biden, and a racist and for Biden. But overall, I'm just trying to say I don't have any problems discussing at all. I mean, the election is coming up, and vote by all means. Given the COVID-19 crisis, the permanent apocalypse we live in, if you don't want to go to, I don't will likely not have the ability to go to my local polling place because that would mean walking right now. And I don't even know where that would be. Where I'm at, and I don't know if I'll feel like walking to vote. So I'm going to do the mail-in thing, and it seems relatively easy. I've been watching some TVI television, Tubi TV, because that's I like television. I grew up snacking on the glass teat in front of the boob tube. because goddamn, I just discussed my grandmother loved the shit out of TV. So did my mother. Um, I grew up. The TV was an integral part of my education. I just talked about Mr. Rogers being something I grew up with, along with Sesame Street, public television uh, shows. And I'm grateful that I had such things. I'm grateful that Sesame Street is still on currently. Children can watch it. I hope they do. Jim Henson's legacy continues. Jim Henson was, I love. There are many times if you walk into the temple and if there is something playing on the television box, The Muppets. I have the season 1 on DVD. And besides some issues where they couldn't get all the musical rights to a particular episode, and the two episodes that come to mind for season 1 are Vincent Price's episode and Jim Neighbors' episode, where like that are really fucking short because they you barely get any of the musical rights to release them on DVD. So it's like, but my favorite season 1 episode of the Muppet Show is of course Paul Williams, because one of my all-time favorite singer-songwriters, Paul Williams, talking about a great documentary. I think it's called Paul Williams is Still Alive. Fucking hilarious documentary. He's in on the joke, and it's kind of this great, documentary about, hey, Paul Williams, here's a song, just an old fashioned love, the kind they used. It's not immediately in my head, but coming down in 3-part harmony. That song. That's a Paul Williams song. And it's kind of like there's so many songs that sometimes we identify a cover of a song and we think that song. I was just, I think, at the beginning of this test, and I've been testing all day on Facebook as well. Just, hey, I don't have anything better to do right now. I don't really give a fuck. This is what I feel like doing. This is my will. So this is what I'm doing. I don't even know if anybody's watching this or if anybody ever will. This is kind of like masturbatory. To a large degree, it's self-masturbatory. But hey, I mean, masturbation's fun. And until it isn't, I guess. I mean, nothing wrong with masturbation. Go fuck yourself. I'm really telling you, go have sex with yourself. I don't see how that's such a horrible insult. I mean, if I said go fornicate with yourself, maybe that's better. If I said, hey, why don't you just go masturbate? They're all the same thing. Go fuck off. I mean, sure, that sounds a bit harsher, doesn't it? Go fuck yourself, for instance. Go masturbate or go fornicate with yourself. I'm saying the same thing. See, the words, if you say go fuck yourself, you probably might get in a fight. That might be the one thing that happens if you say that. But I think if you were to simply say, hey, why don't you go just fornicate with yourself? Might cause a fight, but the fornicate might, cause enough of a delay there in the person you're communicating with where it gives you the moment you need to escape. Or you could say, hey, you know what? I think you should masturbate. I think that'd be good for you. I think that'd be a good cathartic relief. Maybe that would probably be a conversation ender, but maybe it wouldn't end in a fight. I'm just saying. See, there's where words are important. You could say, go fuck yourself. Go fornicate with you. Or hey, maybe go masturbate. And that's why at the beginning of this video I said not made for kids. I had to say yes, made for kids, or no, not made for kids. So I have no problem with Fred Rogers, hero of mine. I love Fred Rogers. A lot of wisdom in that man, and he was a Christian by God. He was a pastor, and an example of a great Christian man, I think. And what's that Bee Gees song? Any Christian lion-hearted man will tell you. Great fucking song. And I think if you ever get the chance, and I'm sure it's much easier now to check out the Flaming Lips cover of that. I always respected them for doing that cover because I love the Bee Gees. I really do. The Bee Gees are like one of my favorite fucking bands, and I absolutely hate the number of people who just write them off as a disco fucking band. No, fuck you. While certainly Saturday Night Fever, hey, that's a great fucking soundtrack. And certainly they embraced disco at the height of disco. They started out as an amazing fucking folk rock band. You listen to Odessa and Marley Pert Drive. That is one of the best songs, in my opinion, ever. I just love Marley Pert Drive off Odessa. I mean, that's my favorite track off Odessa, and that's a really hard thing for me to say. I love Odessa from beginning to end. Um, and it's an LP that's meant to be listened to from beginning to end, which is something that this digital world of music, um, I think that it we've that we've stopped listening to LPs or EP. There were singles. Like the medium impacts the message, and so like now, primarily, here we are. We're on YouTube, and I will say, um, most, like I am a musician, and I speak to other musicians, and it's like, one of the conversations is, hey, I have this new EP out, and it's 2 songs, man, check it out, but my next question is, hey, it's an atavistic kind of question, but hey, where do you want me to go check that out at? What avenue is best for you? Hey, any avenue, it's fucking out there. Listen, spread the word, and you know, if I could get one person, just one human being, to listen to one song one day, and maybe that song is enough, that song helps them in some way, then hey, that's my good deed for the day. And if I only did that one good deed for that day, I can feel great letting that wisdom, trying to share that, maybe just something as simple as a song with the world, whether it be my creation or another creation. I think that's important. That's part of this test. So Richard McGraw, Richard, spelled traditionally like Richard the Lionheart, and McGraw, spelled. There's a big, huge, I guess, pop country star named Tim McGraw, spelled the same way. So there's a popular culture reference to Richard McGraw, who I wish would be a pop culture reference, because a brilliant singer songwriter and just all around wonderful human being, in my estimate, which is the only thing I can speak to. And Richard McGraw, great artist. He has a YouTube channel, so by all means, if my USB keyboard wasn't over there and I felt like typing, but Richard McGraw, Richard spelled traditionally, McGraw, M little C big G Raw, Richard McGraw. Check him out post haste, as they would say, please. Check anything out you want. Just check out his channel on YouTube. And in the future, when I'm actually producing this, and I've got a lot really now more to think about, and this is how I think. In medias res. That's how I work. So this is how I want to do it. I could just pretend, but since this allows me to broadcast live studies, statistics of a Wednesday primetime evening, broadcasting live to YouTube, with the only cross promotion I was able to do, given my current alignment, was Facebook. Unfortunately, that's not so great, because that cuts down on the anonymity factor, because then Facebook then see, therefore, if I do that, then therefore do I create Facebook as an entity, and probably so close out both accounts. And then, those who know will follow, and those who don't won't. And and then it's compartmentalization. Facebook becomes one thing, and then YouTube becomes another, and then Instagram's another. Then there's Snapchat, and there's Tumblr, and there's Twitter, and what will it be next week or next month or next year? I heard there was some new app. What I don't know if people were using during the virus. Maybe it was Zoom. I don't know. I didn't use it yet. I haven't had not a need. Um, you know. But anyway. I mean, cross promotion. There's a lot I need to learn, and I know that I'm sitting here with in the 21st century with an internet machine, computer machine thing that I can like literally research anything at my fingertips as long as I connect to the World Wide Web, which right now, thankfully, I can, and I have a high speed internet connection. I don't know how high a speed. I do know that because I was certainly thinking that uh, I need to get a job, and I was thinking potentially, given there's a lot of remote job options available, thinking about going that distinctive route. Um, uh, but every job application that I looked at lately for work at home said I needed a really good Bluetooth headset. That was one of the things stolen from my home. I had one, but I don't have one. I had like a Turtle Beach mid grade. I don't know. Paid about $150 for it new, and I think that would have worked. I mean, I don't think it was just for my PS4 that was also stolen, but I mean, but unfortunately, I don't have that now due to that. So we'll acquire a new one of those. Of course, don't have any job, and there are noises in the south quadrant of my yard right now. There are definitely noises that are on my property, like connection of something. EMAT. I have a very short walk and porch. I am mindful of. All right. So anyway, but then the beauty of
If you are located in the south location of this temple, which means the yard, you are not welcome. Hear noises outside by south, which would be so I would ask rightly now that you already on property please exit the property now. Thank you. This is currently a residence that I'm allowed within of Virginia. Therefore, there is no one that is prior authorization given no one authorization on my personal property. Um, Thank you.
so you take advantage of the things that you have. For example, I'm a musician and I'm trying to record and do everything pretty much in this living room right now. That's a convenient thing of having a microphone. I don't have that nearly as loud as you'll go. That's about half volume, and but my amplifier's over there. My microphone's over there, and I don't have a monitor set up. I should have a monitor, microphone, amp. I only have an amp and a microphone. So it's not ideal, but it's the best I can do right now. You work with what you got. And here we are, almost hitting an hour and a half. I prefer things to be broken into 15 or 30-minute increments, just easier for computational analysis. So now that I'm getting ready to hit 1:30, it's either I stop now because I happen to look at the clock and it's 1:29 and 20 seconds. So 40 seconds left until I have the digestible 1.5 hour segment to study. So then if I don't shut off within the next 30 seconds, my brain naturally will want to go to 1 minute and 45. And as I'm thirsty, I'd like to set up my hookah so I can smoke. my sheesh, and then because I'm tired of vaporizing, and I don't feel like walking to the store for cigarettes because it's dark, and I don't like to walk in the dark. It's a personal choice, and I don't feel like a walk in the dark right now. And the only way, unless I can have cigarettes delivered to me, and I don't know how much money I have available right now. I think $54 by last count is what I have available to me, which is great because that's a lot of dollars. A pack of cigarettes is, I don't know, like 7 or 8. I don't pay distinct attention. It's a little more than 7. I don't think it's gone over $8 here in the Commonwealth of Virginia yet. In the southern area I'm in, I think I smoke American spirits because that's what I fucking like. And if I'm going to smoke a cigarette, I'm going to fucking like it. I like Paraquat blend. I like Aleister Crowley, and Paraquat blend tobacco was a thing, and there's a black pack, and I also like the turquoise pack, and I like the black pack better because the turquoise pack has created arguments in the past. I was in a gas station in passing through near Virginia Beach in the Bowers Hill area on this concurrency, which is more than one road running at the same time. I can't remember I think it's 3 roads that are running concurrently, like 64, I don't know, 460, I don't know, maybe 13, 17, all running together concurrently, and then they all split up after this gas station on Bowers Hill. And it's changed over the years, the gas station on Bowers Hill. But I stopped at that gas station coming home from work one evening when I worked a job that I had. It was a traveling job, and so I was for lack of I was a peer support. I don't know what they call it. Peer support specialist is what they called it here, Commonwealth of Virginia. And it's a peer counselor, really, a peer support specialist. That's a lot of words. What is it? It's a peer. You're like you don't have the necessarily counselor qualifications. You're not above hierarchically, like traditionally, if you are a human being with a mental health challenge. And I'm just trying to say that instead of mentally, just because I like the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI. That's the abbreviation. But unfortunately, the only thing I don't like about NAMI is that National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's right there in their name, illness. And I know they're an established acronym and they're a great organization, and I recommend them highly. Unfortunately, they have the illness, and I think that's the vernacular, the problem. The word illness, I think, does a disservice to those people like myself who have been labeled mentally. And, I think it's a mental health challenge. My brain has issues because of nature and nurture. And I do my best to manage those issues myself. And I struggle with the medicines that a psychiatrist may wish to prescribe to me. And I've been on a lot of those over the years, and the issues that they cause, psychopharmacology, and then there's holistic medicine. So I've been the last, I don't know, 3 years since my psychiatrist removed me from all my psychopharmaceuticals. My psychiatrist removed me from all my psychopharmacological needs. And when he did that, I made it a personal goal to not go back on medication. And that's a personal fucking choice. And that's my will to treat myself holistically. And unfortunately, goddamn, that means a lot of trial and error for myself because I wasn't willing any longer to it's a trade-off with psychopharmacology. Paul Westerberg, when he was recording as Grandpa Boy, recorded a great song. Can't remember the name of the EP, but it was called Psychopharmacology. Check that song out. It's kind of a great song about that. Paul Westerberg, lead singer, songwriter of The Replacements. What a wonderful band. Paul Westerberg, Grandpa Boy, was one of his side project names. I mean, kind of like Jeff Tweedy from Wilco records under Tweedy with his son. There was a band he recorded with somebody else. It was like there was Fur in the title. Loose Furs, maybe. I don't know, because then there's Handsome Furs, which is another band, And anyway, I digress. And see how easy that is. One acronym leads to a digression. But really, I'm counting the clock. I got 10 minutes. I want to hit an hour and 45. This is just a test. So anyway, how long can I go? And I was originally testing lighting. And again, there's goddamn noise outside. There's some noise outside.
And I know that I can hear that noise outside. Again, noise to the south quadrant of this location. You are welcome to exit the south portion of the property now. Next morning, we'll be physically opening my front door and stepping out. If I have to do that, then actually I will exit the residence carrying a clock. I don't know what's on the other side of my front door right now. Noise of something. Contact. That sounds or localized close about large like that. I will property. Property remain. I'm away from my property. Call the non-emergency department number. Reach out to animal control and say I have a fucking cat problem. Cat is trapped, or I buy a live trap and I will fucking and I will fucking find a wonderful site that relocates cats. I imagine during COVID-19. In my south yard, that noise. Please remove yourself from the south of the property. If that is a human making noise. And I know this is a fire in the south corner near a window. That window was damaged during a burglary home, and therefore I know the sound is very outside. You are within my ability to be straight on the sidewalk, then you can.
So anyway, I mean, I guess that's like an old school. I don't have a fancy Amazon doorbell or security camera out there. God, that would be wonderful. Goddess, that would be wonderful. To have at least on every major cardinal direction some sort of security camera that I could access. But that would be like a permanent thing. Really, I mean, I could set it up on a temporary basis. It's not that hard. I could do that myself, but that would require 4 fucking digital cameras. And that would require wiring to a degree. maybe hardwire them, and then you'd have to think about, wireless, and then fallibility of technology. So right now, it's dark. I don't have a spotlight to shine out this. I have a one window, south facing window, two, but on this side of the temple, in the master bedroom, there is another south facing window, and that's the only two south facing windows. So therefore, given that one is here and then the other one is on the other side of the house, even if I were to be able to utilize the spotlight to shine it out there right now, which is the safest way to assess what's in my front yard. So that clearly leads me to this being a test of, hey, I have a peephole too. I forgot there is a peephole in the front door. The original door did not have a peephole. The new door does have a peephole. And maybe that would have been a more rational way. Oh, now there's the phone call. Here we are live. Somebody's calling. Look at this. Oh, you're live on the YouTube. This phone call is. Just so you're aware that this phone call is being broadcast live on YouTube right now. Dear Freighter. Yes, Freighter, my Freighter here says hello, everybody. You can't hear him because this is a landline, and I don't have the ability to mic a landline yet. But this Freighter here, who I'm not identifying any more than Freighter or Brother Latin, because we are on YouTube and we want to have a level of anonymity on YouTube. So he's going to have to pick the name that he goes by if I refer to him on YouTube so he can keep his anonymity. So what should we call you, Freighter? What word if we want? Okay. This is a self-proclaimed title here. Johnny Whitebread. Johnny, I like it. Johnny Whitebread. Keep it plain and simple. I like the Johnny. Johnny has a lot. Who's Johnny? She said. You remember that song? You remember that song? I know you do. I know you were born the same fucking year as I was, so I know you remember that fucking song. Don't fuck with me. I know you know that song. Anyway, here, Freighter, we could say Freighter Johnny, but we could also say Freighter Whitebread. Or if we wanted to, we could change the language. We could call him Freighter, I don't know, was it Weisse? Weisse, would that be white in German? And then what the fuck would bread be? See how long it's been? I used to speak German fluently, and now I can't even think of how to say bread in fucking German. Jesus fucking Christ. God damn it. And see? Now we are discussing even more interesting details about you. Now, here, Freighter Whitebread, as we'll say. Now, how we're on and now we're on YouTube Live. I don't think there's anybody watching right now, but people can watch at any point in time this live stream until I can the whole live stream because I don't want people to backtrack me from Facebook. I broadcast live on Facebook, and I don't want people to find me. But really, if they're going to find me, they're going to find me unless I wear a mask or something. I'm pretty recognizable, unfortunately. I was telling a freighter earlier about my time being incarcerated and how the whole time I wore my Ray-Ban, because they're prescription for my medical, for my migraines. And so literally it became this running joke that during the time I was incarcerated, I had my Ray-Bans on like 98% of the time. And so it literally became this joke, literally one of the brothers in there would be like, "Hey man, let me have those Ray-Bans. Can I see them?" And I said, "You certainly see them, but please hand them back, because that's how I protect myself against migraines." And so while oddly my prison jail name was Scarecrow, oddly, Scarecrow, that was what I was called. Scarecrow. I was called the Unabomber, I guess because of my physical resemblance to Ted Kaczynski, unfortunately. I think the big unruly beard, hair, Ray-Bans. Well, no, I appreciate that, but that was one of, they'd say, "Hey, what's this Unabomber looking motherfucker?" That was one thing. A couple people did say, Pops. A couple people would refer to me as Pops. Scarecrow did to a degree. And then, other people did, of course, use my name, which I'm not going to use on this. Actually, it's Matt. Chop off my arms and legs and throw me in front of a door. I'm a Matt. Welcome. So anyway, they're, oh my God, now they know my first name on YouTube. Oh my God, damn, are they going to find out my secret last name and then track me down to where I live? Oh my God, so scary. I actually just heard noise, front yard. No, seriously, feet of some kind on sidewalk. not porch, given distance. And all I did was I'm wired for recording music, so I went over to my microphone. My amp is turned up halfway, and I just vocalized really loudly into it. Um, and and so but anyway, I digress. So now we talk about anonymity. I mean, you might be sitting here now. We know if we're sitting here, we're broadcasting live because you do stop by the temple. That's no, we know you should stop by. I mean, it'd be great. Well, that's all right. Well, shit, what's it like? Pushing 9 o'clock now? It's like 8:55. I can't quite fucking see 9 o'clock on my laptop from here. 8:55 ish. Oh, wonderful. That sounds fair. And like I said, 7 days. I mean, I know you have. I know you have. And like I said, I think I now see here becomes another thing. Now, in this magical world, does Freighter Whitebread does Freighter Whitebread have any progeny? Do you have? You do not have children. That's interesting. Children are weird. I have one child. They're 22, so they're an adult now. It's like weird, but they're still my child, even though they're 22 and they're an adult. They're still always going to be my little fucking child. I would say little girl, but that would upset my child. They identify as non-binary, and so they would not like that girl term to be thrown at them. They prefer they and them pronouns, and so therefore, my child, I love dearly. Which I hope every parent says. I hope if you ever have children, Greater Whitebread, that you can say, "I love my child," because wouldn't it be fucking awful if you were like, "God damn, I hate my kid." I mean, that would be an awful thing to say, but I'm sure, like maybe if Ted Bundy. Well, see here, Freighter, you can't hear Freighter Whitebread people, but he makes a damn good point. He says in his neighborhood, which is totally vastly far located from my neighborhood, even though he might come by the temple, he does not live in my neighborhood. He's not. This Freighter is not a neighbor. I don't want it to ever be construed that Freighter Whitebread is a neighbor. I met you what in a parking lot? What was it? The Sheets parking lot? What? A couple months before I was incarcerated? Was it like 2 months before I ended up in jail? I think it was about that. That I picked you up at the wasn't it the Sheets the night I tried to buy beer, and they told me I couldn't buy beer because I was inebriated, and I said that's real fucking funny because I was just pulled over by the police. Oh, that's right. That's right. That was not the first time we met. We met in front of the. I thought we met in front of the Wawa. I thought that was the first time we met was a Wawa. No, it was the Puerto Rican bakery. I thought the Wawa was the first time I met you. And then the second time we encountered each other in public was the Puerto Rican bakery. And then the third time was at the smoke shop. And by the third time, we were like, wow, we had kind of sussed each other out. We were like, this motherfucker seems pretty cool. Because I remember no, it was Wawa. It was Wawa parking lot. Because I remember distinctively the day that I met you. I had a good energy read from you, but you seemed kind of down. Like like your energy was kind of down. You seemed kind of downtrodden. And I remember saying, hey, brother. And I can't remember. I made conversation over a shirt you were wearing. And I was like, oh, it's a pretty cool fucking shirt. I don't know what the fuck it is. And you like were happy to tell me, and you kind of seemed shocked, like, hey, asking me like sincerely about my shirt. You kind of seemed shocked, like, and most people don't know how to fucking take it at all. I know that about me. And so, and we had that conversation. It was like maybe 15 minutes, and I was like, and I felt bad. Like I said, I really I've gotten that guy's number, and fuck, I can't even remember his name now. You know what I mean? Like I think the longest time, I thought your name was Dave for something. I don't know why. That's not your name, but I do that a lot. Like I think people are one name because when I meet them, I get like that energy from them initially. Like if when I meet somebody, I will tell them, and I will say, like, I know you're going to tell me your name, and I'm going to try to do my honest level best to remember your fucking name, Johnny. But for some reason, and like your name's unfortunate, Johnny, because then I think Johnny Knoxville, and then like seriously, Johnny Knoxville. He's a known guy. You know who Johnny Knoxville is. We were talking about him the other night when we were watching something on the boob tube, remember? And the guy looked kind of like Johnny Knoxville, and you were like, I love Johnny Knoxville. And I was like, I love Johnny Knoxville too. This guy looks a lot like Johnny Knoxville, but it was the British crime show I was watching at the time, Midsummer Murders. and one of the like minor British actors in that scene, from the way he was shot, did look like Johnny Knoxville. And then we were discussing our mutual love of Jackass, uh, uh, um, back in the day. We were talking about that. And that doesn't that date us right there? The fact that we can remember when Jackass originally aired on MTV. I do remember that. In fact, one night I actually met Bam Margera, was one of the other names. It was like Johnny Knoxville's buddy. I don't. He had like kind of. I think it was Bam. I think his first name was Bam. I don't know if his last name was Magera. I could be making that totally up or butchering it. I'm sorry, Bam. Maybe your first name's not Bam, and oh, you're fucking watching YouTube. Maybe you are. Not trying to get your name wrong. I like Johnny Knoxville. I think I've never met him, but he seems like a cool guy. Maybe he's an asshole. I don't know. I mean, I've liked. I've never. I saw him in the last movie I saw Johnny Knoxville in was A Dirty Shame. John Waters, A Dirty Shame. Which I love John Waters. We were watching John Waters the other night here at Temple when you stopped by. Remember, we watched that weird movie called Cecil B. Demented, and you kept like going, "Wow, this is a pretty weird fucking movie." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a weird place. You've never seen a John Waters movie. If I was thinking it out, I probably would have introduced you to John Waters via Pink Flamingos because that's a real head fuck. Whereas I think Cecil B. Demented is more kind of commercialized head fuck, whereas Pink Flamingos is much more head on, straight on head fuck. But anyway, I digress. If you're coming by Temple, I don't plan on shutting down. Currently, I'm broadcasting live on YouTube. This is the landline. And hey, if you'd like to call, it's 804-805-2134. Feel free to call. We've had our first official live in caller. Johnny Whitebread called to say he might be in my neighborhood and he wants to stop by. And he's one of the few human beings that I actually allow in my temple. Since I got out of jail. I've been a there are currently three human beings that I think would knock on the door. And see, Johnny Whitebread is one of the few motherfuckers that has been smart enough to remember when I say, hey, if you knock on my door, knock in a da 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 da. It's a 5-note knock pattern. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits. And again, it's a very easy thing to remember. And I love it because every fucking time I tell everybody, knock that way. And like nobody does. And it's not hard. It's 5 fucking notes, shave and a haircut, 2 bits is where it came from traditionally. And like you were the only current, human being, and I don't mean to denigrate you by calling you a human being. I think that's how you identify. I don't mean to insult you by calling you a human being. If you identify as something else, like some sort of, I myself often refer to myself as a star. My current and longest standing spiritual belief. But that doesn't mean it has to be yours. You consider yourself a human being, and that's great because you are a human being, and I'm a human being. But I feel more than just a human being, and I know you feel you're more than a human being as well. You are something else based on the philosophy that you have. If I'm not mistaken, I don't like to assume, but I do believe, if I'm not mistaken here, and I'm not trying to call you out live on YouTube, no viewers, and horribly upset. But Frater Whitebread, you consider yourself a Christian, if I'm not mistaken by that. You're proud to apply that label to yourself. Yeah, okay, wonderful. So Frater Whitebread here comes from the Christian tradition, and I would say he is one of the few Christians that I would ever consider allowing in my temple. There is blood of mine that are Christians that I would not allow to step foot onto my property, let alone inside this current abode. So Frater Whitebread gets a special distinction. And I don't mean that in any negative way towards Christians. I just personally often, as I've told you, we've had this conversation, had a bad run of luck with Christians. And I can only judge the Christians, I run into I can only judge Christianity by the followers thereof I have run into. And so I think obviously you're an example of where Christianity certainly produces a decent human being. Bravo. You give me hope in a faith. that I don't have a lot of hope in. So even, and so seriously, I do not, I have no problem with your Christianity. Me and you could, and we've sat down and we've discussed the Bible, favorite passages, favorite stories from the Bible, favorite, Old Testament moments, favorite New Testament. We've had this conversation, and you and I can, we've had that conversation. Driving around, we've had that conversation down in my living room. We've had that conversation sit down, in your backyard. I mean, we've had this conversation multiple times, and I love it. And you even called out when we've been hanging out with other human beings, to these other human beings that are hanging out with us. Hey, this is a good example. Look, I'm a Christian, and this guy is not somebody you call a Christian. But do we consider each other brothers? We sure do. And I think that's kind of a wonderful thing. That, like, maybe that you and I being able to have this wonderful bond that we have. I mean, maybe we can help the world understand that we don't have to fly the same religious flag. And but the reason I totally respect, while I do have my personal problems with Christianity, I totally respect it as a wonderful faith system because my wonderful mother, my mater, was a Christian. She believed in Jesus Christ. She really did as her personal savior. And hey, it worked for her, right? It works for you. And I'm glad of that. I do not care what the fuck anybody believes. The only thing I really think I care about is that you believe in something. And I guess we could go, it's probably best not to believe in some sort of chaotic, otherworldly God that wants to bring about destruction on humanity. Maybe if you believed in that, like some sort of H.P. Lovecraft, old one, like Cthulhu, maybe we would have problems getting along because I don't know, you're worshiping a God that has no care and love for humanity, and bringing about his awakening might be worse. Oh shit, you got to go. So you'll eventually be en route. It's like, I don't know, by close to 9:15. You'll probably be by sometime before 10, I guess. Wonderful. Well, if you get a chance, if you want to stop by, I know sometimes you hit one of the gas stations en route here, and if you want to stop by here first, we could run down to the 7-Eleven or Wawa together, and I think I'm going to pick up a pack of cigarettes, and I do have enough monetary money for a pack of cigarettes. Wonderfully, a wonderful freighter flipped me a couple bucks today on the internet manner. So if you don't mind, maybe if I know I'm not trying to interrupt your zen when you travel, but if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would save me a walk. Cool. All right. Well, then when I hear your lovely knock on the door, or and this will be the one night somebody else that I've told that 5-note knock pattern to stops by, and I'll open up the door and go, "Hey, Johnny," and then somebody else. I know 5-note knock pattern. Hey, I know you just watched a YouTube video and you analyzed where I lived, and now you know I see the knock. Oh my fucking god! I will let you go. I will see you. Look forward to it. Safe journey. LUV 93. So anyway, that's the Temple landline, and that's how that works. See, that was the test of a live phone call as well, and now being obsessed with metrics, I'll end at 2-minute mark. In 2 minutes, well, in 1 minute and 20 seconds now, at a 2-hour mark, because that allows me 2 1-hour increments to study if I can pull any sort of, if there was any diagnostic criteria I can pull from this data-wise, like viewership, and I running 2 hours, so that would be from 7 post-meridian to 9 post-meridian roughly, and so I'll end the stream here at exactly the 2-hour mark. And this was arbitrary. This was just a test. I think initially it was going to be a 10-minute test. And, well, if you know me and you've ever talked to me for any length of time looking for Johnny, he just wanted to let me know that he would be in my neighborhood this evening. And think about that poor guy. He just wanted to call and say that. And look how long we were speaking. Yeah, 10 minutes can easily turn into 2 hours. But that's the nature of it. So 8 seconds left until we hit the 2-hour live mark. And again, it is, there we go. And